They lied to us. While retail traders obsess over charts, while YouTube thumbnails scream XRP to the moon, while influencers argue over whether it's hitting $1, $5, or $10 this year, something much bigger, much more profound, is happening quietly in the background. Every headline, every breaking news soundbite, every distraction in the media is designed to keep your eyes off what's really unfolding. Because here's the truth. Ripple isn't just fighting the SEC. That legal battle you see splashed across every crypto outlet, that's only the surface-level drama. The real story, the one they don't want retail to grasp, is that Ripple is actively building the financial backbone of the future. Behind the curtain, Ripple is striking billion-dollar partnerships with central banks, aligning with the world's largest payment corridors, and positioning itself as the infrastructure that could move trillions. Not millions, not billions, but trillions of dollars across borders seamlessly. While retail traders are chasing the next pump and dump, Ripple is playing a game on an entirely different level, one where the stakes are nothing less than who controls the rails of the global financial system. Think about it. The Internet of Information changed how we communicate. Social media changed how we connect. Now Ripple is quietly engineering the Internet of Value, where money moves instantly, securely, and globally. No friction, no middlemen, no outdated systems dragging transactions for days. And XRP is at the center of it all. But here's the catch, they don't want you focused on this part. Why? Because if the average person truly understood the scale of what's being built, if retail actually connected the dots, they'd realize this isn't about speculation anymore. It's not about quick flips or chart patterns. This is about controlling the plumbing of the world's economy. So every time you see fear, uncertainty, and doubt about lawsuits, every time you're distracted by price volatility, every time mainstream media paints crypto as risky and chaotic, stop and ask yourself, what are they steering me away from noticing? Because right now, if you're holding XRP, you are not just holding a digital asset. You are holding a key to the future infrastructure of money itself. A token tied directly to a system being designed for banks, corporations, governments, even entire economies. And the ultimate question becomes this. Will you recognize the scale of what's unfolding before your eyes? Or will you remain distracted by the noise, the circus show, and the headlines meant to keep you blind to the truth? Everyone thinks they know what's happening with Ripple and XRP. The narrative is simple, surface level, and repeated over and over. Ripple is in court with the SEC, the lawsuit drags on, and retail investors are just waiting for a resolution that could send the price up or down. That's the story we're fed. But stories like that, they're meant for distraction. They keep you focused on the small picture while the real game is unfolding somewhere else. Quietly, strategically, and completely out of sight. Because ask yourself this, if XRP was just another speculative token, why has Ripple been the target of one of the most aggressive regulatory lawsuits in crypto history? Why would the SEC commit years and millions of dollars to drag this out, instead of simply settling and moving on? Why would the world's largest banks, payment providers, and even central banks keep deepening their ties with Ripple, despite all the so-called uncertainty? The answer is simple but uncomfortable. XRP is not just another coin. Ripple is not a company chasing hype. What's happening here isn't about retail speculation. It's about building the backbone of a new global financial system. The kind of system where settlement is instant, cross-border friction is eliminated, and liquidity flows like water between currencies and nations. This isn't theory. This isn't rumor. This is the architecture of the next era of money, and it's already being laid brick by brick. And here's the part most people miss. The endless drama, the tweets, the predictions, the headlines about pumps or dumps, exists to keep retail investors distracted. While your attention is stuck on charts moving up or down by pennies, institutions are preparing for the settlement of billions. While you're waiting for the end of the lawsuit, governments and financial giants are quietly testing, integrating, and securing their place in the system Ripple is building. Think about how information works in this space. The circus you see on social media, the constant debate about XRP's price target, that's the show. But the real moves are happening in boardrooms, in private negotiations, in pilot programs with banks that never trend on Twitter. It's a split reality. Retail is fed noise, while institutions are handed the blueprint. This is not about whether XRP hits $5 or $10 tomorrow. This is about who controls the rails of the financial world for the next 50 years. Control of liquidity, control of payments, control of cross-border commerce. And when you frame it like that, suddenly the SEC case doesn't look like a battle, it looks like a distraction. A way to buy time while the infrastructure quietly locks into place. And here's the kicker. Most XRP holders don't even realize they're sitting right in the middle of it. They think they're just holding a coin, waiting for a win in court. But in reality, they're holding a key, one of the few retail-accessible keys, to the next global monetary system being built under everyone's nose. The storm isn't coming. It's already here. The only question is, are you paying attention to the right part of it? The distraction play. Now let's strip away the noise and ask the question nobody wants to. Why are we constantly being fed the same recycled narratives? Every day it's the SEC lawsuit. Every week it's another argument over whether XRP can hit $1, $5, or $10. Influencers go back and forth over charts. Twitter explodes with predictions. YouTube fills with clickbait. And yet nothing changes. That's the point. This constant loop isn't random. It's deliberate. It's the same storyline, recycled again and again, to keep the masses focused on the short-term drama while the long-term play unfolds where nobody is looking. It's the oldest trick in the book. Keep the crowd distracted with theater so they never notice the real moves happening behind the curtain. Because while retail investors are busy chasing headlines and fighting over price predictions, Ripple is moving like a ghost. Their biggest moves aren't shouted from the rooftops. They're whispered in private meetings, secured through silent agreements, signed in boardrooms far beyond retail's line of sight. Quiet partnerships with some of the largest banks on the planet. Private pilots with central banks testing CBDCs on Ripple's ledger. Silent integrations with global payment giants who won't make announcements until the rails are already in place. And here's the kicker, they don't need retail hype anymore. They're not chasing likes, retweets, or trending hashtags. Ripple is playing a game designed for billion-dollar players, not retail speculators. They're locking in institutions, governments, and payment corridors. Think about it. If Ripple's only goal was to pump XRP, wouldn't they be marketing nonstop to retail investors? Wouldn't they be hyping every small win to push the price? Instead, they've spent years sitting at tables most people can't even dream of being invited to, tables with the IMF, the World Bank, the BIS, and central banks quietly preparing for a new financial order. And the lawsuit, the so-called drama with the SEC? It's the perfect cover. Retail investors are glued to court dates, rulings, and speculation, while the real story, the restructuring of global financial plumbing, is unfolding in the background, unnoticed. It's misdirection at its finest. Watch the lawsuit. Ignore the system we're quietly building underneath your feet. This is how the game has always been played. Keep the public staring at the shiny object in one hand, the lawsuit, the price predictions, the influencer noise, while the other hand constructs something so massive, so structural, that by the time you realize what's happened, it's already in motion. So the real question isn't, will XRP hit $10 tomorrow? That's the distraction. The real question is, what aren't we being shown? What deals are already signed but not yet public? What systems are already built but not yet switched on? And how much closer are we to a financial reset than they're letting us believe? Because if Ripple really is building the plumbing of a new financial order, then the circus you see in headlines is nothing but a smokescreen. And the investors still distracted by it may wake up one day to realize they were watching the wrong story all along. The supply and control factor. Let's strip away the noise and talk about the elephant in the room, XRP's supply and liquidity strategy. Everyone in retail loves to shout about the escrow, the circulating supply numbers, and which whale wallet just moved coins. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Those debates are the kiddie pool. The real action, the thing Ripple and its institutional partners are actually focused on, is liquidity control and systemic integration. XRP is not being engineered to behave like a meme coin or a speculative rocket ship. It's being built, brick by brick, as a utility-grade financial instrument. A neutral settlement layer for banks, payment giants, and central entities that cannot afford volatility, chaos, or market games. Think about that for a moment. While you're watching green and red candles on a chart, they're calculating how to maintain liquidity corridors across regions, how to release XRP into markets in ways that balance demand, and how to stabilize flows so institutions can actually use it for billion-dollar transactions without slippage. This isn't about your favorite influencers' XRP to $10 next week prediction. This is about Ripple writing the playbook for global value transfer. And in that playbook, supply management isn't a conspiracy, it's an infrastructure necessity. Banks don't want uncertainty. They want guaranteed liquidity. Enterprises don't want volatility. They want predictable settlement. And Ripple's control mechanisms, the escrow, the partnerships, the corridor tests, are all designed to make XRP boring enough for trillion-dollar finance. Now here's where it gets even more uncomfortable. They need retail distracted. Retail speculation, hype cycles, TikTok moon calls. All of it serves a purpose. While the masses are glued to charts, Ripple is embedding XRP into the deepest plumbing of international payments. Quietly, methodically, and by the time most people realize that this isn't about price pumps, but about financial infrastructure, it'll be too late. The rules will already be written. Because in the end, this was never really about whether XRP taps $5, $10, or even $50 in the next hype cycle. Those numbers are just noise compared to the real endgame. The question you should be asking yourself is, do you understand that the token sitting in your wallet could be positioned as the bridge currency for trillions in global value flows? That's not a meme dream. That's the architecture being built in real time. And make no mistake, they don't want you realizing that until it's fully in place. Because by then, retail won't be negotiating the terms. The institutions will. The endgame nobody's talking about. So here's the question nobody wants to ask. Why all the distractions? Why keep retail glued to charts, waiting for pumps that never come, while behind the scenes Ripple is building infrastructure for the world's financial reset? It's simple. If the masses understood what was really happening, accumulation would dry up instantly. XRP wouldn't be trading at cents or a dollar. It would be priced for the role it's about to play. Think about it. Do you really believe world governments, central banks, and financial giants are testing Ripple's tech just for fun? Or that trillion-dollar institutions are waiting on a court case outcome like retail investors are? No, they already know the future, and they're setting the stage quietly while the crowd fights over breadcrumbs. And this is where the real play becomes chilling. Once the system is ready, once CBDCs are linked, once cross-border rails are live, once liquidity corridors are fully established, there will be a switch flip moment. Overnight, XRP won't just be a speculative token, it'll be the plumbing of global value transfer. And when that happens, there won't be time for retail to react. By the time headlines finally admit it, by the time CNBC or Bloomberg tells you XRP is powering the global system, the distribution phase will be over. The insiders, the institutions, the banks, they'll already be locked in. And this is the harsh reality. Every distraction, every headline about lawsuits, every influencer hyping the next bull run, it all serves one purpose: to keep your eyes off the big picture until it's too late. Because make no mistake, the future isn't about price speculation. It's about control of the financial rails. And Ripple, with XRP at its core, is positioning itself at the very center. So the real question is, will you be distracted or will you be prepared? So now you know, the headlines, the hype, the endless distraction about when moon and when pump, all of that is noise. The real story is happening behind closed doors, where Ripple is rewriting the rules of global finance. Banks, governments, and payment giants are moving chess pieces, while the retail crowd argues over crumbs. The question is, will you stay distracted, or will you pay attention to the truth? Because the truth is this: XRP isn't just another token. It's a key that unlocks the future of money. And if you're holding it, you're not just speculating, you're sitting on a front row seat to the biggest financial shift in modern history. They lied to us, they distracted us. But now, you see what's really going on. The only question left is, what will you do with that knowledge? If this opened your eyes, smash that like button, drop a comment with your thoughts, and don't forget to subscribe. Because the deeper we dig, the more lies we uncover, and the closer we get to the truth they don't want you to see.